Well, we got some breaking news here at CBS Sports HQ. That's Jeremy St. Louis. I'm Brandon Baylor here, presented by Capital One and Visa. You can scratch one of those executive openings in the NFL off the board because the G-men ahead of everybody right now.
Yeah, the Giants reportedly set to hire Joe Schoen as their next general manager. Schoen is going to come over from the Buffalo Bills, where he was the assistant general manager there. The move has been confirmed by our Jonathan Jones. Now, Schoen steps in for Dave Kellerman, who retired 2 weeks ago. It's going to be a busy offseason in the Big Apple. Schoen and the rest of the Giants brass will also be hiring a new head coach to replace Joe Judge. As we take a look at the head coach openings, of course, now with the general manager hiring of the Giants, there are now 3 general manager openings: the Bears, Vikings, and the Raiders all looking for general managers. But the Giants topping the list along a long list of head coaches that need to be hired. Bears, Vikings, Dolphins, Broncos, Jags, and the Texans, with at least half the job now done for the New York Giants. Let's now welcome in our Jonathan Jones for more on this. So, JJ, the Giants set to bring in Joe Schoen. As mentioned, you've confirmed the news. What can you tell us about him?
Yeah, I think this is a home run hire for the New York Giants. If you were a Giants fan, you should be very, very happy right now about this general manager hire. Joe Schoen, the assistant general manager of the Buffalo Bills. He's been the right hand of Brandon Beane there as they have created this fantastic Bills team. He's a great all-around personnel guy. I thought that he was ready for a job last offseason, missed out on those opportunities, and now gets this opportunity with the Giants. I had been told he was the favorite going in. Of course, they had a wide-ranging interview and candidate list. Came down to him, Ryan Poles with the Kansas City Chiefs, another guy that I think we might be talking about him as a general manager somewhere soon, Chicago or Minnesota perhaps, and Adam Peters with the 49ers. But they go, of course, with Schoen, who has been working his way up since a ticket department intern 20 years ago with the Carolina Panthers, and has really seen any number of different areas of the business there on the executive side. So a fantastic move by the New York Giants, in my opinion. You never know how these guys are ultimately going to do, right? There's no exact formula on here's how you pick the right guy and here's how you know he's going to win multiple Super Bowls. But I'll tell you this, when I was doing my survey around the league for top general manager candidates, his name was the one that was mentioned to me more than any other personnel executive in the entire NFL. He gets his opportunity now with the New York Giants.
He also interviewed with the Chicago Bears for their open general manager position. So when you look at the two franchises, what was the difference, do you think, with the Giants being able to get him?
Well, I think, the Giants moved a little bit more quickly than the Chicago Bears did, of course. This is the first domino to fall, as we mentioned earlier, in the GM and head coach cycle. You look at the Giants, and yeah, they obviously are going to need some work. There's no question about that. You take that graphic back even further, and no team has lost more than the New York Giants in the past 5 seasons. They're tied with the Jets in the NFL for most losses in the past 5 seasons. So, yes, there is work to be done, but you have an ownership group that, even though they have fired their 2 head coaches in quick succession, their 3 head coaches rather in quick succession recently, they can show patience. They slowed down this process. They gave Dave Gettleman all 4 of his years to the final game and allowed him to retire, of course. And you're talking about a legacy franchise. You're talking about a franchise in a division that is not impossible to win. We saw the Washington football team last year win it with a losing record. The Dallas Cowboys, I think a lot of folks have them at the helm right now. The Philadelphia Eagles are competing. You have a quarterback in Daniel Jones. You have 2 top 7 picks in this year's draft, so you have ammunition, you do have some cap space, you do have some talent, and you do have a quarterback. Whether that's going to be the guy that leads you to a Super Bowl or the guy that you love going with in 2022, all to be determined, of course, but it's a decent enough situation for this next general manager.
Yeah, and they haven't even interviewed any head coaches yet. I mean, John Mara a couple weeks ago said, we wanted to take our time. To your point, they have time. They want to take their time before hiring a head coach. They want to make sure they're getting the right people in place. So now that they've got the general manager, now that Shane's going to come in there, The next step is obviously the head coach. So what does that search look like at this point in time? Are there any names that you're hearing as potential candidates for that position?
Well, I was on here, I think, a week ago and with Amanda, and I said, hey, I'll give you an example of a general manager and a head coach combo, and it's Joe Schoen and it's Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills. What I call Daboll the favorite, I'm not entirely sure just yet. We're going to see, but I certainly believe that this is a guy who, shortly after the outcome of Sunday's game, if they can, according to league rules, they'd love to get him in the building or at least some sort of Zoom interview to speak with him. Leslie Frazier, the defensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills, former head coach of the Minnesota Vikings. He's involved with the Chicago Bears search as well, but that would be another name. And I think as you look elsewhere around the league, Dan Quinn is, of course, a hot name, perhaps the hottest name around the entire league right now in terms of head coach opportunities. And then if you're looking for maybe one other name, Brian Flores is a name that has been whispered about, talked about within those Giants halls. We'll see if that ultimately comes to fruition, but I would certainly keep a close watch on Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills.
Outside of the head coaching position there, JJ, for the Giants, I mean, what is the other thing that's going to be on Shane's to-do list right away?
Well, you have to figure out what you're doing with Daniel Jones at the quarterback position. And I know that was a question that many candidates interviewing had for Giants brass is, hey, how's Daniel Jones' neck? And, of course, he missed really almost the last month of the season. I was told that they were told that, hey, the neck is fine. He just needed rest. And so, again, you have 2 top 10 picks. Do you believe in a guy that is in this year's draft to bring him in? Is he going to be a better option than Daniel Jones? Maybe, probably not though, but could you use those picks as a sort of package to send it off and trade for a quarterback? And what Joe Schoen, what the new head coach are going to have to decide is, what is the best use of those picks there? You see number 5 and number 7 by virtue of the trade up that Chicago did for Justin Fields last year. Do you want to use those picks to build this team around Daniel Jones? What are you going to do with Saquon Barkley, right? Are you going to get more production out of Kenny Galladay? Is Kadarius Toney going to be able to stay healthy? There's a number of questions. Are you going to have pass rush on this Giants team? So you don't just want to package those 2 picks and somebody else and send it off and just get a quarterback, because you have other issues on this team. But it can be fixed. It is workable, but that is probably the biggest question mark facing Joe Schoen and who will be his next head coach.
Our Jonathan Jones, NFL insider, senior NFL insider, joining us here on HQ. The New York Giants, breaking news there. They have themselves a general manager. Reports saying Joe Schoen will be the next GM for the Giants. And for more on this and more on the league overall, be sure to join the Pick 6 podcast, your daily NFL fix with Will Brinson and all the super friends. Download and follow the podcast wherever you get your preferred podcast audio. You can also watch on YouTube.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.